What did she say?
Honey, it's to give us 2.5 minutes before the show starts.
We need time to think about a show.
This is the only time we think about it is the 2.5 minutes during the intro.
What do you guys want to talk about tonight?
Hold up, I hear an echo.
Uh-oh.
There's an echo.
Mute Twitch.
Yeah, Drake.
Was that it?
Is it delayed?
Talk.
Ah.
Back. Are you
Okay,
saying...
it's working.
So professional. What do we title this one? Ancient Civilians, Episode 2.
Ancient civilians, so specific lives of people 10,000 years ago. How was their day?
This
What
is
did
the
they do?
anthropology episode.
What did they talk about?
No, I just wanted to... you were saying some crazy shit at the end of last week.
Let's not start there.
And I just wanted to, expand on that.
Kick right back
I mean,
up.
it is part 2, I guess. I think we should do a summary. I think we should kind of outline because I don't know
What we were talking about.
Yeah. Well, our general idea where we are to this point.
Okay. So generally, we think that there was a catastrophe 11,600 to 12,800 years ago that reset civilization, and that some of the structures around the world are a result of that civilization, and that some cultures move back in on top of them. Yeah?
Yep.
I thought you were gonna continue.
Yeah.
No, that's where I am.
Oh, that's as far as you want to go with it. That makes sense. Oh, no?
I'm recapping last week.
Okay. That's where we left off?
I can't recap what you said. It was some crazy shit. You were talking about it's all a plan.
It's all a plan. Right.
That at the reset of civilization,
Right.
the meritocracy would there ensue, so that the manipulative, smarter humans would maintain whatever control they had before the cataclysm.
Right. So, I don't know. We often talk about I need evidence to support my claims, right?
Yeah.
Or my ideas of what's actually happening. So I was trying to formulate more of a cohesive thought based on feedback from chat. Appreciate it. I'm just kidding. But what were you gonna say?
I don't know. Where do you go from there? How do you explain that?
That's what I was about to do.
Okay.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm ready.
So my arguments were what would be evidence, artifacts of what these civilizations taught us, and kind of evidence that it's been going on a lot longer than we think, right? So the experiment that we've been running since maybe 11,000 BC, whatever it is, the dates. I don't want to get too specific, but
It's not BC. It's 11,000 years ago.
11,600 years ago,
9,000 BC.
we had a hard reset on civilization. Okay, right?
Mhm.
What I'm about to speak to is evidence why I think it's a bigger game, right? We're all on the same page. All right. So if you look at our technological advances, say 200 years, right? So you have, I don't think it's Murphy's Law. Murphy's Law is something else. But what's the law about the microchips where they get smaller every so often? Have you heard about that?
It's basically that science it grows exponentially.
Exponentially, right? So every year it gets like cut in half the speed at which we're improving.
Yeah, or the product gets twice as
efficient, twice as small, twice as whatever. Produces twice as much.
But it's really not even twice as much. It times itself.
Yeah, exponential.
So an iPhone times an iPhone is a lot more than
Exponential. But the timeline that stuff adheres to, and it's a law basically at this point, and it's like maybe 3 to 5, 10 years, right? On time scales that large.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm taking is maybe the past even 100 years, the speed at which that has happened.
Okay, so 100 years ago,
100
it was 1920.
years. Yeah, we were in horses and buggies and inventing electricity and freaking out about that.
Actually, New York was terrified at the advent of horse and carriage because there was horse shit everywhere. They thought they were going to have
awful.
They thought they were going to have an ecological disaster because everyone had so many horses in the city of New York because there's so many people. And then they invented cars. So all those people who were freaking out were totally proven wrong because the horses were replaced by technology.
Right. Okay. Stay on point. That was 100 years ago, right? It seems like a long time. It's a couple of generations, 2 or 3 within your own family. There's an experiment that Honey talks to me often about where Drake hasn't heard this. Clayton might have heard it, so I'm going to go with Drake because I don't think he would have heard this yet. And chat, don't give it away, Aubrey, Honey, but can you name your great-grandfather?
Yes.
Goddamn, Clayton.
I have
All
a
of them,
picture.
actually.
My great grandfather?
Your great-grandfather, your grandfather's dad. Ranch can.
I believe his name was Jerry Davis
I gotta fix you.
Fanning.
Jerry
But-
Davis Fanning.
I think I could be wrong, but
Okay, so his point is kind of proven. You got 70% sureness on your great grandfather's name, right?
I'd say 70% sure. I think that's what my dad told me.
The experiment, Honey said, is the great. So can you name your great-grandfather? So your dad's 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 dad. Did I get that right?
I think
No, you didn't.
I think you went one
There's
over.
an extra dad?
but- No, I think you went one over.
The
but
extra dad?
No. Either
No, I
fucking
don't think
way,
I can.
No.
I think Aubrey could, but I cannot.
I can't. Honey can because she's got probably extensive research on the subject. But yes, Ranch, I wouldn't argue that he's probably got extensive research. I think they just are a lot more inclined to. Their last name is Burgwin, right? So how many Burgwins do you meet? Not that many. So I imagine they're a lot more aware of their lineage than, say, a Smith.
Yeah. Or Nelson.
Or Nelson.
Nelson I think if you go I think if you add 2 more greats though, it's a Neanderthal.
No.
For me.
What?
For me, because
what are you saying right now?
I'm in the 84th percentile of Neanderthal DNA.
That's like your 70th great grandfather. You're way off. What are you talking about?
I was joking.
Okay. Fair
So, my dad did some research.
This is BOC Ranch. What do you want your social? My bad.
My dad did some research on our family.
We're gonna have to cut that out.
Stupid. I think I can find the picture, and it's the first Fanning that moved over here from Ireland. My dad took the picture of the info on the internet.
Now they have your.
Oh, you're Irish?
Yeah, Irish. His name was John Burgwyn Fanning.
You had to look it up. That defeats the purpose.
I literally fucking told you that my dad looked it up, and I have a picture of it.
Whose face is 12
Is
feet
it on
from our
a-
camera?
Is it on a Blarney stone?
Is it me? Am I the one that's far away? What's happening?
What happened?
No, he's talking about me probably because it is 12 feet.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. John's been in that room. He knows. Why are we so far? What are we talking about?
Well, we're talking about Drake's lineage.
Hey, I was just saying I know the lineage.
Yeah.
Jeremy asked the question.
Get fucking back on topic.
Finish your point, Jeremy.
He proved
Drake's
my
Irish.
point
What were
in
you
more
talking
ways
about?
than I could. Yes, Drake is Irish. You couldn't do it, right?
No, I told you no.
That wasn't that long ago, though. A few hundred years is nothing in the grand scheme of even 10,000 years, the periods that we're talking about. Okay?
Right. Okay. I understand the point you proved.
Look,
We
I
got
don't
there
like
eventually.
I don't like my grandpa, so I don't want to know like his
Dude,
dad
I-
and shit because that's what he learned from and shit.
Sorry.
And
Yeah.
so no, I'm just saying like that's why I don't know my family history.
Yeah, but probably everyone else does. Is Drake's point. That's not my point. I don't think most people do.
I don't know my.
No, I think most people do not.
I don't know my dad's
But
name.
the point he's proving is like that person lived 100 years ago, 120
So your dad's.
to 50.
I think 2 greats is 100 years ago, right? That's turn
Yeah.
of the century, 1900s.
Follow the chat.
Well, it also
Jeremy.
depends on how old your family is. But
Follow
yeah,
the chat.
What does that prove? The point that you were originally trying to make about the meritocracy? What? I don't know, man. I think
I'm sure.
What?
I'm sure I said meritocracy.
I think.
Or did you?
I didn't say meritocracy, but
Oh,
it might
you're
have been
supposed to relate this back to what the effect of that is on people
the
11,000
technological
years ago.
advances and stuff like that.
But you're
Yeah.
getting there because you're saying,
Your perceived view of timeline. You can't think past a few generations of your own lifetime and your own experience, right?
yeah, but we're talking about hundreds of generations with that amount of time.
So that's my that's what I'm using as evidence that this is a bigger game. So the 200-year period that this stuff is going on that you couldn't imagine even as that small example that I just gave. Okay?
Mhm.
200 years is we're on boats crossing the Atlantic with sails, right? 1800s? Yeah. Yeah. Somewhere around there. 1900? No.
You're roughly close enough.
1800s. Yeah. Hi, you're both high?
I
Why
think
is that in
that
quotation marks?
because it's from Teen Mom 2.
I don't remember that. I wouldn't know that show well enough to quote it, I guess. You guys gave me the floor, so I don't know.
Okay, but like the normal idea of what was going on 11,000 years ago is not cities. So you have to like make the jump of agriculture somewhere in that time, and that's the first technological advancement, right? Well, I guess like stone tools.
Yeah.
It's the first evidence that we...
farming.
Yeah. So that's what we were talking about last episode is your perceived...
But if we're saying that technology is exponential, we're way up here on this graph.
Mm-hmm.
So how long ago is 11,000 years on the parabola of technology? Because I would assume 11,000 years ago you have almost nothing. You're a
Except
hunter-gatherer.
megaliths made out of melted stone somehow, right?
Yeah.
We didn't get into the melted stone
Or
stuff, but the
perfectly.
wall that we were showing last week, that was because the stones were made soft and made to fit into grooves because they knew about earthquakes.
That's how they said they did it. And then the Spaniards were like, "What, bitch?
That's
This is
magic,
limestone."
man. Nah.
Yeah.
Farming started way before that.
Yeah. I was just using it as an example.
1492 is when Columbus sailed. So that's the first time we were in the Americas is 1492. So
Yeah, that's when we saw them. That's not when they built them, though.
Yeah.
what? It's all what?
Farming started in Sumer, that region.
11,600 years ago, farming started.
No,
That's what's. Hang on.
I disagree.
Hang on. This is what started this whole conversation. So the yeah, man, I'm gonna butcher the name again. The Turkish one. What's that one?
Babylon?
maybe the megalith structure they found in Turkey 11,000 years ago.
I'll find it.
There's evidence of agriculture there. That was what we're basing this episode on, right?
Okay.
There we go. 11,600 years ago, you find agriculture and a giant structure that has ties to astrology.
It's
which is
Baalbek.
a technology. What?
It's Baalbek, and the Romans were supposed to have built it. Is that what you're
Baalbek?
talking about? Yeah, I shared a link in the Discord. It's like it's right under your crazy pictures.
Let me check that out.
Oh,
It's
I see it now. My bad.
it's in like the Middle East, and it's really far from where Rome was, but Rome spread, And this was like the foundations of this building are like 900-ton blocks, like unfathomably huge rocks. And the Romans were pretty meticulous, but they never said how they built the foundations. So people think that, the biggest rocks in all the great Roman, like the Colosseum or whatever, are like 40 tons max. So they like tenfold were able to lift heavier stones than they proved to in Rome itself. So people think they found the foundation and built upon it.
Yeah, that's a prevailing theme, that they would find these older structures and then kind of build up on it, right?
Yeah, there's proof of that in Egypt too, because like the older or the younger the pyramids get, the more shitty they're built.
Yeah. Which we do have to address the decline, right? And then the rapid incline.
How long do you think they'll continue to stand?
The pyramids?
Yeah.
Thousands of years.
You're talking totally ruining the ecology of Earth if something big enough were to happen. And
No, I'm not saying like the weather took it out, like a catastrophe, but like
you think humans
weather
are gonna
away?
I don't know, just like weather away and fucking, I don't know, just shit like that.
For them to not look like a pyramid, probably like hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Unless it just rained heavily for a long ass time there again.
Yeah.
So I bet the weathering on the side of the Sphinx, if that were a lion's face, and this is all just conjecture, but if that were originally a lion's face and it rained as much as they think it did on the walls around the Sphinx, which would predate them to the whole story we went through last time where it looks at the constellation Leo 11,600 years ago.
Yeah.
If the face had that much weathering, I would probably chip it to look like my face too, because it probably didn't look like a lion anymore.
Well, yeah, you're talking a course of like 8,000 years, right? If they came across something and it was weathering away and there was some king, pharaoh that was like, hey, just put my face on it. We're cool.
Yeah.
I'm the god anyways, right?
You're definitely moving here. Look at this big ass pyramid.
So I don't know if we ever found evidence that that the Sphinx was even that old. Like, I think it could potentially be even older than that. I think they were using evidence that it was, if it was a cat or whatever, Leo, like a lion, right? Whatever Leo is.
Yeah.
That's why it was a cat, because it was built 11,000 whatever years ago, which lines up with the east, the sun rising in the east with Leo behind it.
Yeah, that's the archaeoastrology, is what they called that.
Dude, that's got to be some mind-blowing science.
But that
not really science,
also, the water erosion theory is a little more in-depth than it hasn't rained here in forever. It is specifically, this looks like 6,000 years of rainfall on this type of rock, and it hasn't rained in the Nile Delta for 6,000 years. So that puts it 12,000 years ago. You can also date it from the erosion of the water. Right. Does that make sense?
That's what they're saying. That's why that's the argument why the Sphinx is older than the pyramids to begin with, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but we were talking about people moving into stuff, and I think we talked about Teotihuacan,
Teotihuacan, and then the one that starts with a G.
Göbekli Tepe.
That's the one I was trying to talk about.
That one has only been dated
to
12,000 years ago, and it was intentionally buried.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of why the date is that, because the strata at the base where the rocks are is 12,000 years old. Did I go into how radiocarbon dating works last week?
I don't know. Maybe.
Because I know how it works. It doesn't matter.
I don't think you did, but you probably should not explain it.
I'm gonna. They measure the amount of carbon in it. But there's two types of carbon. One of them is from space, and one of them is like being a person. The one from space is not stable, so you can see the decay, and you can get how much was probably in there by the amount of normal carbon. So you can compare the two types and then know the decay of this type of carbon that's not stable in this environment. And so they date things that way. But the problem with that, which is why I say any of this, is that solar radiation, so like a sunspot or like heavy solar days, you know, they say that on the news sometimes or whatever, when the sun is more magnetic and sending more rays our way than normal, can affect that molecule. So it's argued how much they take that into account when they're radiocarbon dating things.
You're arguing against why carbon dating would be...
No, I think it's pretty fucking accurate, but the arguments against it are that the number you're using has variables.
Oh, the 11,600 years ago?
Just any radiocarbon date.
Okay, but in the ballpark, 10,000 years ago.
Yeah, no.
That's what I'm saying.
If we're talking about
agriculture,
yeah, totally.
Agriculture gets introduced. Or at least that's the earliest we found agriculture is 11,600 years ago, according to our faulty carbon dating. Which I don't know if that's 100% carbon dating that they came up with that date, right? I think...
no, I think there was some other stuff, but I don't know what it was.
I think it was the coincidental part of it, right? So they had this megalith structure pop up right after this global cataclysm, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they were identifying, was this global cataclysm that came and like hard reset mankind, right? Mm-hmm. So you had all these...
Hang on, are you arguing that they're building these megaliths immediately after the cataclysm, or that these megaliths survived the cataclysm?
Both, I guess, potentially. Yeah, for sure. I think both ways.
Just to, like...
I think there are megaliths that we haven't discovered. We discover them, I feel like, all the time now, right? That's kind of why we're talking about it. Mm-hmm. But everything we're discovering, it's just pointing more and more that there was some high-level technological advanced civilization before this 11,000 mark, where we thought we understood was the benchmark of where we started the technological advances. Mm-hmm. So that's the argument that we're making, is that we think up till 11,000 years ago, we were hunters and gatherers. And then we invented agriculture, and then it was just a slow, gradual progression to where we are. There was ups and peaks and valleys.
It was like a spot on Earth that farming started, or like a general region. It wasn't like... So 11,600 years ago, it starts. I don't know that it's prevalent.
I'm saying that's the earliest example. So if you're trying to set...
So you got to give them 100 years to send it to every culture.
I think it probably took hundreds of years for information to travel the globe around that time. Yeah. And that's what we were talking about earlier. If I went back to school, I'd be an anthropologist. I would pick a trail of like culture and try to trace its gradual path across the globe, because that's part of the argument we're making too, is that these megalith structures are all based on the same technology that was shared at some point, but they pop up like years and centuries later, the further away it gets from these points of technological advances.
Yeah, but the interesting part is you could also argue against that and be like, no, South America is as old as Göbekli Tepe. So we had agriculture in both spots. These must have survived.
The old New World?
Yeah.
The old New World? No, I mean, that's part of it too.
Which is kind of the way I've always looked at it.
What?
That those megaliths are all that's left from the cataclysm. And that, of course, you wouldn't find anything else because it was so... To change a world like that is pretty violent. Like to extinguish humans.
That's what we were getting into last week, the time scale that this stuff happened. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, 1,000 years of the climate change periods that we were talking about, which were floods, and I mean, if it was an asteroid impact, there would have been some kind of like nuclear winter, right? Like there would have been hellfire.
Yeah, that graph I pulled up kind of showed that trajectory and back. But
so it
I
would
read
have been at the bare minimum, not either hot nor cold. I'm saying it would have been chaotic one way or the other for probably 1,000 years, just cool off period.
Yeah, for a hot minute for sure. But I read this other book this week.
Oh yeah,
this book is nuts.
A whole book?
No, I'll explain that too. I put it in content sharing. We should just put that link public on Discord because it's this book is called The Adam and Eve Story. It was written in 1963 by Chan Thomas, and it got published in 65, and the CIA classified it in 66. Wow. And he republished it in 1993, but a bunch of pages were missing. Someone sent a FOIA request where they released documents from the government to this end to get this book out, and they only released 57 pages. So it's shrouded in mystery already, and then you read it, and it explains that there's a cycle on the Earth where the poles shift and the continents move. Like he's saying, in a day, Antarctica and Greenland shift 90 degrees, so they're on the equator, and that happens in a day, so you're moving incredibly quick, and the Earth is still spinning this way, so it messes up all the oceans, and it's like 1,000-mile-per-hour winds around the world because the shell of the Earth is spinning. I think another book was put out in the 50s about this, and it's totally, but like Einstein wrote the foreword for it saying it was good science, but now we're like, no, that doesn't happen at all. But anyways, it says that is the cataclysm, and that he goes through a list of how he can date that better, and then he totally deconstructs Genesis by reading the tablets that Ezra, who wrote Genesis, read, which are hieroglyphs, but he used the Mayan ancient language and came up with that there was he retranslate the story of Adam and Eve so that Adam is the first generation to survive the cataclysm, and the tree is actually the continent they used to live on, the snake is the ocean, and just totally is like, I think this is what it says because I read it in Mayan. It's a crazy book, but there's only like 57 pages of it, so you wonder like what was in there that the CIA was like, no, you can't put this out.
What year was it? 60s?
66. It got classified.
I can't remember what I was watching, but there was, I think it was, this is the Joe Rogan podcast. But they were talking about there was like a committee.
It's like swinging a bucket of water. That's what he says in the book. How did she know that?
What?
She probably read it.
I don't even know if she's talking about what I was talking about.
Probably not.
Dude, your internet is tanking.
Who?
Wasabi.
Is it?
It's not me.
I feel fine. It doesn't matter.
I have a video back to the ancient civilization thing.
Bring us back, Drake.
I'll try to bring us back. It's in the Discord.
I almost drove.
Oh, she was talking about exactly what I talked about, and he talked about that being like the force of why it moves.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
He goes like deep into that the magnet and electrical system within the inner core of the molten Earth pulses basically. So when it's really weak, Antarctica and Greenland can't hold on to the poles, and they flip like centrifugal force while the Earth is still spinning.
Mm-hmm.
It's like those toys you had where it was a ball within a ball. It basically just does that crazy for a week and then goes back.
That would make a lot of sense, right?
And
Basic
he
laws
kind
of
of
physics.
explains it. Yeah, he kind of explains it because they found a lot of those mammoths with like food in their mouths and undigested because they were flash frozen instantly, which makes no sense at all. And then there's like whale and fish bones on fossils on the Himalayas and the Andes Mountains. They're like millions of years old, but it's still crazy to think about. Like, why? If the water was eroding, why would whales and fish get beached unless it just happened immediately? Yeah. But to create a yeah.
Hey, these
And he
watch
kind of
together. These watch
yeah.
together links aren't working, so I can't control the video. Yes, it is the one that says ancient aliens, biblical evidence of lost prehistoric civilization. You don't? I mean, I'm not saying I do either.
You might be
I just,
asking yourself, can
found
you
it
actually
today and I thought
create
it was
high
interesting to add.
Should be playing.
When we think
thought it was
about
just
alien
interesting and I thought I would add
civilization
it
to
because it kinda tied
faraway
into
planets, but there is another incredibly vast
The watch together is not working.
dimension that we might be giving too little thought to.
There we go.
Could it be that over the last hundreds of millions
Waifu
of years,
said
other civilizations existed on Earth? Indigenous technological species that rose and died out. And the
Jeremy, you're
global
muted,
artifacts
they're
are
saying.
buried beneath our
I like this channel. This guy does a really good job. Not
Jeremy,
this guy.
you're muted.
I'm not muted anymore.
Oh,
Okay.
feet.
My bad.
And what are the implications for us?
All right. You like this channel? Is what
I
you're
do like this channel. They do a really good job. I agree with what this guy is saying, but I thought he was going to play another video, which I don't agree with.
Life on Earth has existed for 4
Yeah, it's that one I
billion
sent.
years, mostly as single-celled organisms.
It's not this one?
Until some 500.
Are we playing the wrong video?
well, here's the problem. I can't hear it.
You should be able to hear it through the Watch Me thing.
No, I told you that link didn't work. I clicked on both of them, and both those didn't work.
Oh, you should
It
retry
said
that.
they expired.
Oh no shit. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I'm using right now. I don't know.
that's crazy because it literally just told me it's expired.
Yeah, I reposted
This is the
it.
video, right?
groundbreaking paper
There we
is
go.
published by NASA
This is the one, right?
Gavin Schmidt and astrophysicist
Yeah.
Adam Frank that tackles an intriguing question.
Oh, I played the wrong video
Why
anyways.
advanced
Cool. We're
civilizations
great
have
at this.
existed on Earth in the remote
No, he had the
Professionals.
rope.
that have been completely lost to history.
This paper asks a very interesting question, which is, can we detect ancient civilizations
quiet.
that are
Oh,
tens
God.
of thousands of years old? And the intriguing answer is really no, because all evidence of these civilizations and remnants of them would have been destroyed in that time frame.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like, so if everything is destroyed, it's all speculation.
I agree with that.
I'm gonna continue.
The evidence for them would be
I disagree
hard to
with that.
find, they were saying.
Hang on, pause.
That all evidence would be destroyed.
I disagree with that only to the extent that you can still radiocarbon date this. Radiocarbon 14 dating.
What?
Because there's carbon in the soil around the rocks, around the area. So you can get a vague idea.
But from like millions of years ago.
Oh no, not millions of years ago.
That's what we're saying in this video.
Actually, the range of radiocarbon dating is like 60,000 years. Because that's the
There's no
half-life
way.
of carbon.
No.
Yeah,
60,000
and
years
then
is the half-life of... No.
they have to start using other elements. I think it's
They
60,000
use
years.
other elements. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's
After
carbon.
60,000 years.
I think there's another element they use that goes millions, billions. What's the topic
Oh.
of the night? It's in the subject. It's ancient civilizations. Dot. That's it. Dot.
Well, you want me to play this or no?
Yeah.
All right. I
First
didn't
time
know
in
if you
chat though,
did-
Mitch. Preaching.
You said you didn't. You said you didn't agree.
I didn't agree with that your statement that it's all speculation. I agree it's a lot of speculation.
All right.
It's a lot of
Ancient
preponderance of evidence
man
from
would have
cultures, which
erased
is
the evidence
not
for these
perfect.
civilizations.
Where'd it go?
You know, we're only a couple hundred years into a technological civilization. That's not a very long time frame in the fossil record. So if our civilization got wiped out, we would possibly disappear from that
We would
record
definitely
in
disappear.
the future.
Once humankind is gone, all those
Yeah, it would-
skyscrapers,
Everything would be
all
reduced
the
to stories.
results of human
Can I pause it real quick? Do you know what Randall
Yeah.
Carson's, like, what he does for a living?
Yeah, I think he's some type of construction.
He's an
something.
architect.
Yeah.
That's why he named his website Sacred Geometry, because he started studying geometry and all
Because
of the ancient cathedrals in Northern Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I'm sorry.
civilization will be gone after 1,000 years. So who knows what will be left after 100,000 years?
I meant to make a meme of
or in
that guy.
some cases,
His hair
hundreds
is wild.
of thousands
He
of
is
years.
very memeable.
According to mainstream archaeology, the Earth's earliest civilization emerged in the area of
I bet the
modern-day
only thing you'd
Iraq
get from
around
today is, like,
3000 BC.
See,
Something in DC.
I mean, that's old. That's dated information right there. What'd you say, Clayton?
I said it. I bet if our civilization did stop, in a 10,000 years, all you would have is like the monuments in DC, maybe.
The Washington Monument, yeah.
Mount Rushmore would be there.
Yeah.
Like someone would be able to find Abraham Lincoln's foot from the Lincoln Memorial. And they'd be like, damn, they were giants, dude.
But
They
even
were
those
giants.
those buildings kind of reflect older building, right? Older buildings.
Well, because the only thing, the reason I say this, because the only thing that withstands anything that we're talking about is stone. So, anyway, what are they talking about?
Who's pausing it?
But the surviving histories of many ancient
'Cause we're all
peoples
hitting play.
tell of an earlier age, one where mortals and beings known as gods
I think this is the part
lived
that lost
side
me.
by side.
Yeah.
This Hebrew
This
guy.
is kind of
Oral
just.
Not him,
histories
not
have
her.
been around
She's okay.
generations upon generations upon generations.
okay.
You all right, Felicia?
And they always talk
What?
about the before
Her
the
name was
before,
Felicia.
when
Felicia?
gods and people
Yeah.
walked the land.
Hesiod was a Greek author who wrote that there
That's
were
true,
5
that's probably what they'll say,
ages
honey.
of man. The Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Age of Heroes, and the Age of Iron. In the Golden Age, basically, people were living beautiful lives
This is
along
the
with
stuff that
gods.
I think
and he thought
lost
this was
me.
real. He didn't think this was a myth.
Yeah, this is kind of just.
The Aztecs have
Myth.
other ages of man. Other cultures
Excuse me.
have similar ways of breaking up time and going back into deep time. It's their understanding of their origins.
When we look into the historical
okay, it's not
records
him,
of
it's
the
the other guy.
Greeks and the Aztecs, they're often talking about ages. Often ages that span many thousands
So what are
of
y'all
years.
disagreeing with here?
And it opens up the
see if I
possibility
can find
that
him.
humanity, in fact,
It's
can
Yeah,
be
you
found
can- you can skip
portrayed
This guy.
in the book of Genesis, chapter 36, which states, "These are the
I looked
kings
this up.
who reigned in the land of Edom."
Edom.
Before.
So Genesis is based on another book that was written a couple generations later, Enoch. That's when you start getting into a little bit,
Yeah.
a couple generations down. But Genesis is based on their writings. These Enochians or whatever he calls them, right? What does he call
Yeah.
them?
Prior to there being a king.
But this is after Genesis. This is probably 1,000 years after Adam and Eve that they're writing about what they thought Adam and Eve was. That's what this story is based on. And he says crazy shit like they talk about nuclear weapons, which I could not find.
A humanoid nature here on Earth prior to Adam. According to Enochian literature, we have a record of it being technologically advanced, even to the point of having nuclear technology.
No, that's.
I think that
I don't think. What do you not believe about that?
I couldn't find what he's talking about. I couldn't find
That relates back to the book I talked about earlier.
what book.
Damn.
That
Keep playing it.
the book of Enoch is hieroglyphs, and it depends on how you
Interpret it.
interpret the hieroglyphs. And the guy Ezra, who Ezra actually took a record of everything, but his grandpa was the last one to read it, I think. But they were like the family of keeping the record. Like, have you ever seen The Giver? It's almost exactly like that. So he had to, because at one point those stories were outlawed or whatever, and then they brought him back and were like, Enoch, Ezra, we destroyed everything. We need you to rewrite them. Here's 5 scribes. And then the scribes had their own interpretation of what Ezra was saying.
Yeah.
So
game of telephone.
Yeah, and when you get that old, you can kind of just say whatever the hell you want, you know. This book is 100,000 years old. It says what I say.
Well, I was going to try to touch on that too. Is that the story of Adam and Eve and like the Garden of Eden, like it potentially to me could be older than 10,000 years. It could be the true.
Yeah.
Like whatever their idea was the origin of the start of mankind, right? It could have been hundreds of thousands of years ago, but they just use it as the biblical Genesis, right? Which could have only been 10,000 years ago or something like that. Clayton?
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. I thought we lost you.
But I like the story I found today more, to where they're the progenitors of the new world after the cataclysm.
That's what I'm saying. So like
Adam and Eve.
Yeah, who knows what's before Adam and Eve?
Great great grandparents of who?
They're the what?
What's the end of that timeline? Are there?
There's not one.
You get to Abraham.
Oh, what's the end of their timeline?
I mean,
like there's their kids.
You follow that timeline, that lineage until you get to Abraham. That's what I'm saying. It's like King of Kings shit.
Yeah, but I think there's generations before Adam.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, there
definitely.
had to be.
No, hang on. I see it both ways. I'm saying, yeah, there's definitely generations before the biblical Adam. I'm saying that the story of Adam could have been a much older, true origin story that got tucked under the Christian Hebrew umbrella and saying like, oh, Genesis was only 10,000 years ago, right? Or whatever it was.
Yeah, and like it's kind of, it seems somewhat obvious that a serpent in a tree and a evil fruit is a giant like metaphor for what they're talking about. Like that doesn't, you can't take that literally.
No, I mean,
in my mind.
Yeah.
So that's when you get into that's what I feel like is the meat of it, right? Like that the other cultures share the same stories. They're just they're different. They're interpreted differently. Like the Amazons had their story of a great flood, and they're like, this is what we learned from it, and this is what our civilization culture grew from. But under our umbrella, and I'm saying Western civilization as a whole was born
at Adam
and Eve, right?
Right.
Not Adam and Steve. Sorry.
What the fuck? No, I get what you're saying. Are there any more legs in this video? You want to keep going?
Well,
what point?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Keep playing it. Keep playing it. Just play it.
Just hit play. Fuck it.
There's extensive knowledge from many cultures, many traditions.
See, that's mine.
That something existed before our modern human civilization developed. There might have been
why are they all pyramids?
Other civilizations on Earth that predated us that were not the only technological civilization on the planet, but just the latest one. That there have been previous ones that existed.
This is why I paused it earlier. I meant to make that point, but I didn't, so I'm going to do it now. I'm sorry for pausing for the second time. Randall Carson, he was an architect. He was studying sacred geometry. That's why he named his website. He got fed up with just our mundane, like just total like ignorance to all of it. Like whenever they built these megalith structures, they were dedicated to like astrological events, like something that meant something. So like the pyramids were built on the rivers in Egypt, right? Like and pointing toward a certain direction. Like they chose a specific spot, a specific shape, a specific orientation based on meaning, right?
Yeah, Ranch had a good... I'm going to reiterate what Ranch said because it was a good point. He said the first scientific document was published in the 17th century, so people are going to use familiar objects to describe complex scenarios. So like to make it all the way back to the tree and the apple and the snake.
Yeah.
They'd seen those things. Which kind of... I'm going to derail here a little bit because there were Hindu stories of things called vimanas, which were like spaceships, essentially. They were floating people carriers. And then Man, you put me on the big screen.
You're good to
Anyway,
go.
and in the pyramids, they found toy, like 3 to 4 inch long wood carvings of planes, and people try to say they're birds or whatever, but the wings are like foil shaped. They didn't carve feathers on them, and there's like a tail rudder, like a vertical tail rudder, which you wouldn't see on a bird. Probably could have pulled up pictures of that, but I didn't.
We still can.
I'll Google it.
Google it. It's worth a Google.
Klaus fucking Schwab.
What?
Did you see him on that picture?
Klaus
Naked?
Schwab.
Full frontal?
No full frontal Klaus.
Chariots of fire mentioned in Genesis could be large flying vessels, but yeah. No, I totally get
Also, I was told by one of my buddies the other day that if you like read Revelations, it was supposed to be like one big giant acid trip.
I thought we didn't touch on that last.
I don't think we did, and I thought
Okay.
that was a really fucking crazy way to look at it. And I was like, yeah, that makes more sense than it being like the future.
Okay, it's called the Saqqara bird.
You got it in content sharing?
Yeah.
Is it the most recent thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is tell the story.
So it does have a
Sorry.
bird face, but it has a vertical tail.
That's not a bird face? Oh, you're saying it does have a bird face. Okay. So
Yeah.
to tie in
So
the
it definitely
context.
could be a bird.
So
I'm wrong.
What Ranch is talking about. They probably put a bird face because that's their only understanding of what flight was. So that's their representation of a flying object is a bird, and it has
looks
a
like
rudder.
a damn helicopter.
Yeah. We've all had a few. If I heard you start Pink Floyd's The Wall when you started reading Revelations, it would match up perfectly.
I'm going to do that right after this.
That's perfect.
That's funny.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah. Chariots of Fire, that would have been the only vocabulary they would have had at that time to describe such an object. I'm saying if they saw a flying saucer or something come out of the space and land and blah, 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 it would be gods. It would be chariots of fire.
That was the presumed reason in this book I'm going to keep going back to because it was crazy. That was the presumed reason they got hieroglyphs wrong, because it meant like a sword of fire meant different things in 2 different cultures.
Nope.
Or like to the Mayans, serpents represented water. In Egypt, they did not.
We were talking about that in our pre-show that I'm not making the argument, but there is an argument that I can see. I'm playing devil's advocate, that language is a handicap for civilization, for cultures, right?
Yeah.
I could see why that would be the hieroglyphs would be their like
preferred way.
Their runaround around it. They have to memorize the meaning of these images, and like it tells a story on its own, right? Like their specific nouns and pronunciations depended on the hieroglyphs, the pictures. They're not words, they're pictures, but they represent like actual syllables of words.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. What if that was their runaround of the handicap of the written language? They put everything into this like narrative, like story of imagery that you had to not interpret, but
yeah,
you understand what I'm saying. God's language is silence.
Yeah, you would imagine that the first language wasn't precise enough to account for culture.
Beautiful things do not ask to be seen. I'm definitely on that train of thought. I would say that we're just being filtered from what that vibration is, right? We're us as human, tangible beings in this realm can't pick up those frequencies that are what Ranch and Honey are talking about to me. I don't know.
Far out, man.
Far out, man. Just a hippie.
Yeah. All right.
Get back on format.
So, but we ended last week with like who's like what's the controlling factor here?
Big mix.
Big mix.
Big mix.
Maybe it's my internet. You both are getting pretty pixelated.
No, I see it too.
That would be me. I'm the common denominator.
Oh. No, I'm saying Wasabi won't get too metaphysical. Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
Do you lean more credence to it now that knowing that it is tied to all these other cultures. I'm not saying like I'm not
Darling
saying it
Queen is the
represents
what?
anything physically real, but I'm saying that all of these technologies across the globe inherited and used this technology that is astrology, metaphysical stuff that we kind of lean to, me and Honey.
They only used astrology to keep time and to honor their deities. That's how I understand it.
As far as you understand it, right? What if they understood it on another level that you're just not aware of?
Are you talking about astrology specifically?
I'm not talking about modern astrology necessarily. I'm saying the science, the method behind it, the understanding, the representation, the mythology, the it can't all be literal. I'm sure there was some analogy used, right?
Yeah, no, there's this history and analogy, but the metaphysical part of it for me is when you say you act that way because you're a Libra. And that's where I draw the line on astrology.
Hell yeah. I kind of agree with that.
Because astrology ties into archaeoastronomy like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the cultures of, the ages and the ones who named the constellations, essentially.
I am agnostic to it. I will go, that's as far as I'll go with it. How about that?
Okay.
You don't understand stuff on a quantum realm, which potentially the gravity from Jupiter interferes with.
That is the best argument for astrology.
There you go. You don't understand stuff on that level, and the more we understand the quantum blah blah blah, that stuff on that scale, the Planck length and stuff like that interacts and what really drives what we understand as reality, it's all based on that realm. And you can't tell me that the gravity of Jupiter, whenever it swings closer to Earth, pulls atoms and stuff certain ways and influences the sacred geometry, the flow of atoms and stuff like that. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm saying
back to
that.
Format.
All I'm saying is that waiting for Honey to bust through the door. All I'm saying is that an experiment hasn't been run. There's that is believing in ghosts to me, and I just haven't seen a ghost.
That's fair.
So I don't.
I mean, I haven't seen it.
Well, you won't see them.
I have a trouble with all that, man. I have a trouble with relying on your sensory, because even that is a handicap, right? You can't rely on your eyesight. You can't rely on your hearing.
Yeah, but that all edges on too close to the nothing matters cliff.
Why are you going that route? What are you talking about? No, I don't agree with that. Why does nothing matter?
If I haven't seen it and it's not affected my life, and I haven't seen experienced what it might mean, then what does it matter?
Have you ever seen $1 million?
All right, you win. You understand
Molasses loves that nothing matters. Cliff, what?
I'm waiting on my invitation.
You reside falling off the nothing is real.
I reside on the cliff that nothing is real.
Nothing matters.
That nothing matters. I think nihilism is a very logical approach to understanding what's going on, yeah. I don't necessarily agree with that anymore, but at one point I was drawn to that philosophy.
Ooh, Ranch has a better argument against me. I think it's also egotistical to assume that we are born or given the ability to observe everything. That's totally true.
I feel like that's the argument I'm making.
But I look through the lens I was given, so...
That's true, too.
To the extent that I could see it is to the extent that it is real. Like that age-old question, if a tree falls in the forest, can you hear it? I don't care.
But...
I don't know if I care.
I'm not going to answer that question because I don't care. I wasn't there. It doesn't matter if I heard it or you could hear it.
I don't know if I care about that either.
It's like Schrodinger's cat. I fight philosophy with does it matter that you even said that? I don't like to entertain unquestionable answers.
You don't like to entertain a question with more answers?
Unquestionable answers.
Unquestionable answers. Okay.
Oh, my dog's pushing me out of the chair. Stop it. She wants to sit in the damn chair.
Yeah.
Just last week you were on this thing. Probably.
Okay. I'm going to bring us back to the track that I'm trying to push us towards because you ended last week with it seemed like you had some kind of understanding or belief or idea that something was controlling everything. Mm-hmm. Or that nothing you said like 4 really vague and open
you might remind me of it, but I can pick up from there if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe. I thought I had it.
Try to re-explain that so I can...
What's the point of this podcast?
To get fucked up.
We're talking about conspiracies, just our idea of what's going on in our immediate past, like our immediate relativity of what's going on in our lives. Go back 100 years. Right?
What?
We're a conspiracy podcast because we think there's conspiracies going on in the world. And that's based on a, to be generous, 10,000 year window.
Okay.
To sum it up as shortly as I can. The episode that we're doing today, and that was part 2 of last week's, is Ancient Civilizations.
Mm-hmm.
Which you're arguing that we are older than 10,000. That's where we're on the same page.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you open the door to that,
okay,
you can extrapolate hundreds of thousands of years of the same games, the same human nature going on for at least 300,000 years was the first modern man.
I thought we narrowed it down to 195 last week, but
no, I was doing some research today. 300,000 years. Y'all can fact check me. I'm comfortable dropping that to 100,000 years just to be on even plane.
To placate, I understand.
100,000 years, if you say that's Adam and Eve, 100,000 years ago, and then you say, well, then we've only been at it for 10,000 years. So then 100,000 years ago, 90,000 years ago. My bad, I'm terrible at math. We should be where we're at right now.
Or way past it.
Way past it. Right?
At the bare minimum. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead.
I think that we have on this earth a bunch of technology and a bunch of resources that could be even extraterrestrial, I don't know, that is hidden from public view and is used by military, government, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Just like I just feel like they have certain technologies that are way more advanced than what we are able to get, and like how we have really shitty internet, but they're like cloning shit out there, and they're fucking
and like
using mind control mechanisms and making nuclear weapons.
They built the B-52 bomber in 1958.
Exactly.
And didn't tell anybody till like the 80s or something.
Yep. SR-71 Blackbird.
I totally agree with what you're saying. So let's even put the technological scale of these ancient cultures that we're assuming.
I meant to get
for
into
some
that.
reason recycle every 10,000 years.
It took us an hour to arrive back. We're full.
It always takes us an hour to get to the point of the episode. That's why we do 2 hours.
UAPs are us, so that's what I'm getting.
Somebody knows the
Drake,
format.
If you think that they're
follow the goddamn outline we made, Jared.
What are you talking about? Are you guys have that pulled up?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Were y'all following specific bullet points?
Yeah, dude.
I'm sorry. Are we on reptilians or
UAPs are us? Yes, mayonnaise. I fucking agree with that. Let's start a business.
So let me.
I'm trying to say the UAPs are us. If we've been at it 100,000 years, 100,000 and 2,022 years.
Mm-hmm.
The UAPs are us. We're out there surfing the universe, bro. We're out there traveling the cosmos and checking in on our stupid little kids every once in a while.
Okay.
Like we're time traveling?
Potentially, we could be in other dimensions by now, dude.
Like they already are, like the UAPs, UFOs that we see right now.
Okay, that's the most extreme that I've gotten. So if we've run this simulation for 100,000 years, we've peaked so far advanced that we've created other universes for us to play around in. So then in that scenario, we are special and the only life form in that universe, and we're just here running a little tiny little video game.
I mean, at its base, a WoW server is creating a little tiny universe.
That's what I'm saying. If you 200 years, 50, 100 years from now, we're creating virtual reality where we're indistinguishable walking around a virtual realm. I'm saying 10,000, hundreds of thousands of years doing that, we're traveling to physical other realms of reality.
Yeah, but if you assume that there's cataclysms every so often, then
I think
maybe there's a name for that.
I think that rules out those
the
time
Fermi's
scales.
paradox.
I think the internal drive for us to explore and question and to spread out and to be as far and spread and take up as much space, capitalism, right? That inherent in all of us to gain and try to monetize, and right? It's not necessarily money, it's not capitalism. I'm saying there's a drive behind that ties back into animal nature, which I meant to get back was one of my bullet points. There's stuff that's inherent in animal nature that we still have in us, like artifacts of that behavior. I'm saying that's by design to make us spread out. And I'm saying we're getting to the point where we've spread out on Earth, and we're saying, hey, Earth potentially couldn't sustain a 10, 20,000 year civilization. We have to spread out, right? Mm-hmm. I'm saying that's the infancy of the timescales that we've been at this game.
Okay.
Long time ago, climate change was a joke. They're like, climate change is like a week period to us at this point. Like we gotta go to Mars for vacation over the summer while Earth is frozen, right? Whatever it is. That would have been tens of thousands of years ago if you allow the potential that we were the modern man 100,000 years ago. Thanks a lot, Al Gore. It does undercut
a lot, Al Gore. Hell yeah.
It does undercut the climate change argument a bit. I do think we're influencing it. I don't know if we're influencing on the scales that the mass hysteria wants us to believe. I don't know. That's a different argument.
All right. Mayo had a good question and then a sentence that I vehemently disagree with. So I'm going to give him his good question first. Can you take a second to talk about the world population in these timelines? I think he's talking about like ancient culture timelines, not necessarily we're populating space.
Okay.
I think is when that was sent.
Population might be a struggle, but go ahead.
Like, when we're talking about the megaliths, the society it would take to complete something like, moving in 3,900 ton blocks.
Can you correct me real quick? My understanding right now is that the pyramids were built in like 50 years.
I don't know.
It's very. I don't know. A lot of people.
A couple generations, 3 generations, 100 years to be generous.
Yeah, I think 100 years to be generous is like
I've heard about 70.
Okay,
the Egyptians say.
Okay, fair.
Where was I before that? Oh, population. So you have to assume population size based off kind of the size of the rock of the place, because it takes more and more people to move more and more material and build it. Like when the time we do know about the cathedral building, like all of society was based around building those cathedrals, and no stone in a cathedral is anywhere near the size of any of these megaliths we're talking about. So if you take that time and you put it back to when these were supposed to have been built, that culture is not large enough to do that. So if you extrapolate world population that way, it's pretty crazy.
The way I understand that, I think that's Graham Hancock's argument. 11,000 years ago, when you get, God dang it, Göbekli Tepe. Yes!
Yeah.
You had a small group of intelligent people trying to get a large group of people to do something. Whereas in Northern Europe, with the cathedrals, you had like a very skilled set of people, like focusing on like very fine details. And there were probably a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why you get very fine, detailed, still megalithic structures, but they're more refined. They're more dialed in, right? The Randall Carson is arguing is that there's more sacred geometry built into it, like the Holy Trinity and stuff. Not that it's Christian. I'm just saying Holy Trinity might be sacred geometry beyond Christianity. Anyways.
John sent a link. I'm trying to figure out why. It doesn't have anything I'm trying to look at on it.
Oh, I got that. I can pull that up. Where's that?
Interactive world population graphs.
See, this
It only
is...
goes,
I think...
It only goes back to 1950.
What? World population graph. Where are we going, John? You can't see chat. Bottom?
He's gonna have to type. No, he's gonna have to.
Okay. Here's 10,000 BC right here. 4 million and 10,000 BC.
Oh, there we go.
The average growth rate from 10,000, 19 million. Okay, if anything, this illustrates the kind of the point, right? It's exponential growth. Once you have more and more people grouping together, you have more and more bursts. So more and more people having sex, more and more growth. And it's exponential. The more people are, the more people, right?
They're saying there was no one in... This isn't... I don't think this is accurate. Because during the time of when... I'll go to 2000 BCE and go to Mexico. Okay, it does say there's people there.
190 million as of the year 0. 10,000 years ago, which is the event we're talking about.
It says no one.
Life expectancy was 30 before the year 1800. There's stuff in the Bible that suggests that there was people living for hundreds of years. And you could get into...
I get so confused.
Yeah.
Well, and life expectancy is kind of based off infant mortality.
Okay, that's fair. I don't know the science behind that, but I can understand that that's probably a thing. Sure.
It's outliers that they count.
Birth rate, what was it?
So, like, life expectancy...
Uh-oh.
Being 30 the year before 1800 means that the infant mortality rate was through the roof, but people generally lived to 50, 60, 70.
This is children of men scenario we're getting into right here. Decline of population.
Oh, yeah, that's how populations implode.
But that's part of my argument is that stuff is orchestrated, but whatever. It has to be. Fantastic movie. Children of Men, yeah. I need to figure out how to fix this chat.
But anyways, after that, he said...
I was watching him move that.
He said there was no reason for people to advance.
Yeah.
For that amount of time.
All right, you might have to explain that, mayonnaise. We could do guest calls. That would be really easy, right? No?
Yeah.
That would fuck up the overlay. No.
Population exploded in the 60s.
Google lead gas versus average IQ. Lead gas versus average IQ. Here we go.
Now add full frontal.
Full frontal.
What do you want, mayonnaise? Jeez, what was that? I installed a reader. Where's my reader? Is this it? That's not it. I mean, it says reading list. God damn it. What the fuck?
What are we looking at here?
Age distribution 2015. Relative distribution by age. Top portal. What are we looking at, mayonnaise?
You clicked the link.
I know, but what?
He wants you to show that people got dumb because there was lead gas.
Well, there's been lead pipes since the Egyptian days. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, is this better than what happened Sunday? Why am I...
You're right, he did hit...
what do you want? Exposure
buttons.
to car exhaust from lead gas during childhood took a collective of 8 points away from the... Holy shit. Is that what you're saying right now? Is that lead gas was driving this? That's it. Thanks. It was right at the top.
Now he's being snarky. And I don't even care about that.
Exposure to car exhaust from leaded gas during childhood took a collective of 824 million IQ points away from more than 170 million U.S. adults alive today. So we're dumber now for using lead gas back in the 70s. That makes sense. Does that impact fertility rates or something? Is that what we were talking about? Population control?
I don't know what he's talking about.
Do you believe in population control? Do you believe that that is an active mechanism by whatever? I'm not going to say U.S. government. I'm going to say...
It's 100%.
We need to establish
real.
a name. I've been using Illuminati incorrectly. Well, let's establish a name. Let's say...
Globalist.
No. I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with that.
How about
because Jeremy is a globalist?
World leaders.
No, because there are legitimate world leaders. We need just
Name
a
me one.
stupid name, like Flamingo People. The Flamingo People.
No.
Okay.
How about the 1%ers?
Okay, well, let's decide who...
The elites. That's the easiest way to fucking put it.
The elite
Who's in
lizards.
their ranks?
The
Who's
elite
the
lizards.
elites?
Elites.
Do you really think they're lizards? Who comprises the elites current day? And then let's try to move that line back as far as we can and how you would maintain control.
Are you
in
guys
that
keeping up
position.
with Rick and Morty?
No.
No.
Drink? No. There's an episode where the dinosaurs come back. They had peaked and reached like super intellectual level where they were like expanding and like passing on altruism. Like they passed world wars, they passed world hunger, all this, and it finally accomplished world peace in like this super altruistic state. And so they were spreading out with this knowledge and trying to help everybody. And so when they were furthering out, it took so long to come back, 64 million years. They're like, what are you apes doing with all this shit going on right now? And they like take over. They're like, we've got it from here. Just vacation mode, guys. Chill out. I'm saying if we open in the door of the 300,000 years of mankind and then you open the door to 64 million years of dinosaurs, it's possible.
Okay, so let me get back to the question you cut me off and then went on that rant for.
Was it irrelevant?
I want to deconstruct who and how is controlling. I think the who is impossible, but I think we can pontificate on the how quite a bit. And then I want to try to push the line of population. I'm not saying population control in terms of numbers. I'm saying in terms of influence. Ketchup had a good point. I'm going to be the chat reader today. He said, I don't believe in population control in our government. I believe in willful negligence in the interest of increased profits, but outright population control, nah. Other countries, perhaps.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because but it's a cycle of like, let me poison your food and make it all processed and really unhealthy and make it really expensive to eat right. And in the meantime, when you go get fucking cancer and you go get really sick, we're going to give you meds and then you're going to have to come back because it's not going to cure you. It's just going to make you feel better and you're going to get hooked on it. And it's just it's a cycle.
Yeah. And I'm going to pivot the food into Roundup because that's a real case of they're getting sued because Roundup is killing people. And how long did they know and keep it secret?
At least the 70s or 60s.
In a case like that, you would never find out that they knew it was that bad and still did it. You just have to find them for how long they did it and knew. Does that make sense?
How long do you think that was?
If they knew at the genesis of making Roundup that this shouldn't be around people, then that's still on them.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying that is a form of control and like a manipulation of the population.
When they made Roundup, they absolutely knew its potential. What are you talking about?
They knew that it was going to give people cancer when they first released Roundup. I can't make that statement a fact, so I'm going off the...
That's fair. Okay, so what if they took something else and turned it into something else? Then you're saying it's not the same thing. Roundup is Agent Orange, right?
Here's cigarettes, die slow. Yeah.
Exactly. Cigarettes, fucking soda, everything.
Yeah, and then Aubrey brings up the cure cancer and put all those medical personnel out of a job. No way.
Because a cured patient is not a returning customer.
No, me and Honey were talking about that specifically. There's a preventative. When you go in.
Hang on.
Hey, But here's the fact. Here's the fact.
Yeah.
If you're rich, you can fucking pay a lot of money and you'll be cured.
Yeah.
Because it happens all the time. And I can name one person, but I'm not going to.
Ketchup said something I disagree with. He said the conspiracy angle assumes the intention is malicious, but really it's just negligence fueled by greed. I think
is greed.
Okay,
not
so
a malicious?
I agree with that in that you can't prove that Monsanto knew when they put out Roundup that I was going to give people cancer. But
I wouldn't argue
the
that
second,
either, I'm sorry.
The second they knew and didn't pull it and and that whole term that they can get sued for, that is malicious. And the cancer companies did the same thing. So, profits are working against us. But I want to talk about who populates the people who get to make decisions and draw lines if there are any, because drawing the lines between who seemingly controls things is where the waters get too muddy for me to tread.
Okay. So, two of the highest powers that control most shit, United Nations and World Economic Forum. Excuse me.
I would argue the Federal Reserve holds
and the Federal Reserve
than the United Nations.
Three Holy Trinity.
Yeah, that's like the Holy Trinity right there, 100%.
Oh, he was talking about the ingredients in food. Okay.
But just all around, like if you look at the World Economic Forum and this whole Great Reset that started in 2020 during the COVID pandemic. Sorry, my phone probably loud as shit. It's just showing how much control they had when they shut down the world and had us just freaking out, locked in our houses.
Why does someone
you kind of get to take some control out of their hands because everyone was terrified it was a global plague. But
yeah,
they did shut down and go beyond the bounds of the Constitution to accomplish keeping people in their homes.
Oh, dude, we got to get it. I mean, we're past the hour mark, but we need to get into Timcast, Twitter. We forgot to.
Oh yeah. Okay, so
it's a really good video.
No, this is an easy segue. Another. You don't think everyone was just trying to play it safe? Better safe than sorry. No, I'll grant that branch, but at the same time, the government can go too far, and they did.
They definitely did. They lied to us in a lot of ways that are being proven right now.
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead, Clayton.
So the segue is basically the control of the population.
Spanish
and what
flu.
just came out in the DHS leaks is that the government has been having meetings with social media companies since 2020. So, apparently this is under Trump. I'm not going to assign malice to anyone except for the federal government as a whole, because they're basically having meetings and telling social media companies what needs to get pulled off of their sites. They're kind of controlling the censorship of the supposedly private social media companies. Facebook built a portal that government employees log into and can flag and remove stuff off of. But they're having weekly meetings. Some companies were bi-weekly. Twitter, I think, was weekly. Microsoft. But they're having meetings of what the overall idea, you cannot talk about this. Mm-hmm. And it just lends, kind of, when you place it in the context of the last 2 years, it makes a lot of sense as to why everyone was getting booted when, if you grew up with the internet since 2000, Wild West, and then it became very strict. You can get removed from Stripe and PayPal. PayPal, 2 months ago went, hey, if you say something that we think is wrong, we'll take $2,500 out of your PayPal account if it's there, or more, because you don't represent us and you said something. And then the entire internet went, fuck that. Everyone dropped PayPal.
Yeah.
And so they took it off and then they put it back on without a big hubbub happening. And so it's just stuff like that where it's leading to censorship, which I don't agree with, but what's worse is self-censorship, which I fight against every Sunday and Tuesday.
Self-censorship, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just a scary, it's a It's probably like the most important thing that's come out of the U.S. government in our lifetime as far as an erosion of rights.
Yeah, for sure.
They're private companies working with the federal government, John. That argument is now gone forever.
Are you gonna pull up
because
that
the
video
government was doing it?
What video?
of
Is it this?
that one? Yes, the Patriot Act. That's a huge one that Ketchup just brought up.
Patriot Act's pretty crazy.
Hang on. It makes sense the way social media has infected the brains of people that can't think for themselves. People look to exploit that, aka Russia and trolls and incels. Yeah, but I don't think you get to police the internet for stupid people.
What?
I don't think that's anyone's
responsibility other than yourself.
Yeah,
and that's
other
the
than
argument you were
yourself.
making about free speech, right?
Yeah, you're allowed to be an actual idiot. You're allowed to take everything Alex Jones says and throw the grain of salt behind you and wish for good luck. You're allowed to do that.
There needs to be a restructure of those laws, right? You can't go into a movie theater and go, hey, there's a fire, right? That's against the law, obviously. There's nothing stopping you from, they're not cutting out your tongue or forbidding you to say those words and combinations. You could potentially say it and then suffer the repercussions, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like, there's no example in the real world of like some magical force stopping you from speaking these words. On the internet, they're putting in filters that certain words tying together, they just cut out altogether from the feed.
Yeah.
I think I have a problem with that, yeah.
Security risk to our nation's mental health, I think. Well, I don't think I think you compete with bad speech. And I think that's the only way to overcome it. Because you'll never have there's an endless cycle of people who will say the wrong things and get booted off, but before they get booted off, gain a massive platform and have more people listening to their stupid shit before they get kicked off. And you're only going to have more and more companies that are not going to get people kicked off. And every one of those companies is just become a crazy cesspit of people saying crazy shit like 4chan. And we don't want people to go to 4chan. We don't want people to go to Truth Social, whatever, because it's an echo chamber. You need to put that echo next to all the other echoes that are actually allowed on these platforms. And just let people be dumb or not.
I think that's right. Oh, that looks like shit. My bad. But no, that's what I was going to say. It should be up to the individual to filter their own feed, right? So if there was a potential for somebody to say something like that and they pop up on your feed, like block them, report them, whatever you feel like you need to do. But I don't know, for somebody to intervene and say, hey, you're not even going to get the potential to see that. Like, to me, I can't think of something that I would necessarily find offensive that I wouldn't want to see. If somebody said something offensive, I would want to know about it and see it and react to it and, like, engage them and be like, hey, challenge their point of view, right?
Yeah, and Ketchup says it's not about silencing them, it's about them wanting to be associated with them. Or it's about not wanting to be associated with them. Private companies should be allowed to ban anybody for no reason.
I agree with that.
But that doesn't apply here because the government was telling them who to ban.
Right. A publicly funded organization was going into a private company going, censor this.
The people who got kicked off Twitter paid taxes to get kicked off Twitter.
Yes.
In real life. To some extent.
That's the best example for it. What do you call BS? I don't know if Trump pays his taxes, so I don't know if he's the best example.
Someone who has
How
a
many
cake
billionaires do pay their taxes? Are you kidding me? Everybody's calling Trump out, but like, go look at any other fucking billionaire. I guarantee you they're not paying their taxes.
I think you get to billionaire status by knowing the loopholes.
I'm going to keep responding to Ketchup. We're having a great conversation.
Yeah, I agree with his comment earlier about the government expanded the most underneath Bush.
Yeah, definitely.
And the Patriot Act is one of the most fucked things that happened to our nation, and so many people are too stupid to fucking realize it, and they're like, oh, Bush was just the best president ever. And like, you might be more stupid than him.
Yeah.
So the government put a gun to their head? What's the context of that?
The worst part of the social engineering thing, you said a sentence earlier that was pretty poignant. You were like, to not be able to have that put in front of you and decide it's bad is not a good thing. Obviously that's not an actual quote, but the worst part about that scenario, about them removing stuff without you even knowing it exists or whatever, is that what you are being shown is based on an algorithm of what they want to show you.
Yeah, what's left, right?
the internet does not function in a timeline anymore. There are no timelines. There are 3 posts that are from people you know. There are 3 posts that they think you will like, that they're pushing you in a direction of creators who are already large, and then there's 3 ads on every app ever. That's how it works now.
Dude, it's
Where
funny if you
early Facebook was your friends in order of what they said when they said it.
Yeah. No, it's funny now, right? Because that's not even what you get half the time. The less people you follow, the less or the more boring your feed will be, right? So like I created Instagram just so that we could promote this show through exclusively, like that's why I have an Instagram. And I only follow like the certain people that pop up because of my contacts or friends of friends or whatever. But that feed is so slow. Like they're not posting pictures every 5 minutes or whatever. So they're posting as it comes across and stuff. So if somebody's sitting there looking for a constant feed of something, that's a boring feed.
Ketchup says there's no intention behind the algorithm. That's not true because they boost and lower things in the algorithm. If it was just based on things you were looking for, they wouldn't be tampering with it. Except they deem it's not bad, but they tamper with it past that. You think, like, right when they put Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon and all that shit started hitting YouTube, YouTube immediately was playing videos from mainstream TV stations before those TV stations had enough following or enough interaction. They were pushing mainstream outlets numbers because they were being paid to. Like the algorithm is not just an open. If it was, they would show it to you, but they won't show it to you. They decide what's in the algorithm. They decide what gets pushed, and they decide what gets pushed to the side.
I think we did this wrong. Okay, hang on. Me and Sauce were having this argument earlier, okay? There is a system designed, and it's doing exactly what it's designed to do. So if I go onto Twitter and I look for red guitars, right? I keep clicking on red guitars. It's going to keep feeding me more red guitars, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a feedback loop. So like it proposes this possible link, and then I'm like, hey, that's a red guitar. I'm going to follow that rabbit hole. And it's just, that's what that feed is based on, right?
Right.
That is part of the system. That is part of their algorithm. And I think, if I'm understanding, that's what Jason's argument is, right?
Yeah.
There's no intention behind it. It's just the algorithm running its due course because you're the one orchestrating it, right?
He's assuming the only intention is profits.
Okay. There was breaking.
This is in the midst of the DHS leak, and that is not true anymore.
There was breaking news yesterday that Twitter and all these major social media things are in cohorse with the government to censor those feeds. So that's two different things to me. That's one, the algorithm is doing what it's designed to do, and then the other side of it is the government intervening with the feed. Those are two separate things to me.
Yeah, but Elon also released leaks of like Slack messages or some internal messages between employees.
Yeah.
And during the purchase of Twitter, Elon accused them of being biased or having bots and knowing about it. And the chat message, the internal chat message, basically proved what he said. Like the last line was exactly what Elon is accusing us of, talking about someone else who worked there. And so it's like, it's not all above board.
Yeah.
These powers come with responsibilities, and these responsibilities get bought.
These conversations need to be had at a minimum. I agree. That's what we're doing, right? So, honey, algorithms are tied to ancient civilizations. We are going to talk about the news. We're going to talk about relative stuff going on in the world and tie it back into an arching theme. And so I think if they are manipulating people's feeds in Twitter to drive a narrative, right? Or to withhold information or say, hey, it's the free will argument. If you don't have access to that information, how could you make that choice? And if they're eliminating that information, they're eliminating choice. If their perceived actions are like broadcast on the internet, then they don't want that. They want to filter it and twist it and turn it into what they do. I think that is manipulation. I don't know. I'm not getting into selling your personal information. That's a whole different argument to me, but unless you're trying to make an age restriction for the internet, the average brain, it doesn't develop until you're about 30 years old. I agree. Damn. I think that's why the presidential age is 30 years, right?
Hey, click that Theodore Roosevelt quote that I have on there.
What?
Should be on there. I put a Theodore Roosevelt quote on the Discord.
It's in the wrong channel. Oh, okay, my bad.
There's like 3 quotes in a row. You should play them all. They're all about greedy motherfuckers behind the scenes.
What if the greedy motherfuckers behind the scenes are being controlled by like evil reptilians, like you mentioned earlier?
Yeah,
and that's tied back
to
our. That's tied back to our original point. And
All
that's
right.
why we didn't
Is
get
that the
off
right
topic.
video?
12,000 years ago, that civilization fled underground.
This isn't the right video. What are you talking about?
It's not a video. It's a picture of Theodore Roosevelt.
Where?
It's a quote. It's real small. Go down.
Yeah, down.
Which
down.
channel?
It's in
is it?
content sharing, dude. It's where it's supposed to be. Scroll down. Stop. Go up.
This?
It's right above the dollar.
Okay. This?
Yeah, that one that says Theodore Roosevelt
What am I doing
quotes.com.
here? Behind the... Okay, go ahead.
Where's John to help?
You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Where's John to help? Never give a Smith the reins. Hang on, I gotta find where I pulled it.
That should be on our tombstone, probably.
That's too small. Okay, I'll read it. Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. To destroy this invisible government, to befoul the unholy alliance between corrupt businesses and corrupt politics is the first task of a statesman today. And that's Theo Roosevelt. That's like old shit.
He's the dad of FDR, right?
So I think that talks to these corporations are profit driven.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. And this gets back to a point that I've made probably on every episode.
Is there an argument? Is that the argument Jason's making? Is that it's not profit driven? I don't think that's.
No, he's making that it is.
It's 100% profit driven.
Yeah, that is what he's saying. And I'm saying that if you removed the ability to tie yourself together as a corporation and be sued only as a corporation, not the individuals that make that business, if you remove that, most of this goes away because no one will expose themselves that much. But they will expose the corporation they work for.
Okay.
So it's the government's fault that the profit motives are running the market and therefore the culture.
It's the government's fault the market is running free?
Because of how the government treats businesses, specifically corporations.
I agree with Jason. I agree that billionaires create tax, right? Like they get a certain tax write-off because there's just exponential tax underneath that umbrella, right? How much tax revenue is under Elon Musk alone, right? It's not any one individual, it's
or
corporations.
Jeff Bezos. I think he's like competing with Walmart to employ the most amount of people.
That is the most logical argument for trickle-down economics that I understand. I get that piece.
It's not capitalism's fault. That is not the argument I made. It's the fault of treating a corporation like it's its own entity.
Yeah.
You have to be able to sue the members of the corporation, which you cannot do. You can only sue the corporation. And the corporation does not care. Because it's mob mentality in a corporation.
It's not a real person. It's the scapegoat. It's a name. You could just be like, start another one.
Yeah, if Bob Monsanto was still financially responsible for Monsanto, or however that works, he would be a dead man.
What?
Charles Koch is very against taxes. I like him already.
Hey, I believe in a flat tax.
Yep.
How do you feel about that?
It'd have to be pretty low. But then there's no rules at all. Just every single person pays this much in tax. Do you tax corporations?
I think on an individual level,
businesses,
on a citizen level, it's a flat tax. Yeah.
Are you talking about removing all taxes in individual?
There's no tax brackets. It's just a flat tax.
What about like state and federal tax on purchases?
I like Texas.
Well, yeah, there's no state tax, but there's a federal tax on you, on your purchases. And
so I believe there should be a federal government. Therefore, you should pay federal tax. Yeah. I believe there should be a state government.
Flat tax, and all businesses should pay 20%.
You think a personal individual should be 12%?
That's what Ketchup said.
I'm not getting that granular. I don't know what the percentage is.
Let's go 6.
Dog, I think 12% is probably lower than your tax right now.
I would agree with that too, but I would think it'd be closer to 5 or 6%.
I say 6.
12% is pretty high.
If you're including the entire money pool of the United States.
5% is not going to be a lot for low economy, that bracket. You eliminate brackets by doing this too. Like the upper class, like if they're paying their 5%, 6%, that's a significant more amount than they're probably paying already.
Yeah, but if you want to pull an Andrew Jackson and get rid of any federal debt, it's 12%.
Federal debt? I don't know about all that, man. That's a different.
We're
off base. Certain circumstances for disabled people, old people, for sure. I think there should be built in. You're right. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. So if you built in to say there's a certain amount of the population that couldn't pay taxes, and then you would potentially divide that up amongst the population that could pay taxes, it's probably
that should
higher.
That should be like one bracket, and it's like less than $30,000. You don't pay taxes.
I'm saying it should be built in, so 12% might be more true reflection of that, right? You plus a quarter or whatever the fraction is of the individual.
It's a 12th.
12's good. 12's good number, Jason. I'm sorry for speculating or questioning. So ancient civilizations.
Yeah, so we could totally get into how I want to talk about how we're manipulated socially and culturally by different things.
Okay.
We already got into the social media and the DHS leaks.
Okay, so that's relevant news that happened yesterday.
Yeah, and then have you ever heard of the Church Committee?
Is that the one from the 60s that are the censoring the...
Yeah,
sci-fi?
how they were. It's all Project Mockingbird.
Like Star Trek was getting a lot of shit. And they had to censor their stuff.
No.
Okay.
No, that's when Operation MK Ultra. COINTELPRO.
We have to do a whole episode of Manson.
No, we're gonna do a whole episode of all of these. COINTELPRO was the surveillance and infiltration of American political and civil rights organizations by the CIA. Family Jewels, which covertly assassinated foreign leaders, and Operation Mockingbird, which was a systemic propaganda campaign with domestic and foreign journalists operating as CIA assets at dozens of U.S. news organizations providing cover for CIA activity. And Project Shamrock, in which the major telecommunications companies shared their traffic with the NSA, confirming the existence of the Signals Intelligence Agency to the public for the first time, which is a precursor to the NSA.
Like before then, we didn't know the organizations?
Of any of those.
I forgot to make the point earlier. There was a specific government agency developed just to monitor social media. What was it called?
Oh, the
Department of Censorship or something like that. That's crazy. That's Nazi shit, dude.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but they started it and then immediately got rid of it.
Yeah. No, I think they just rebranded because it got...
No, because the DHS leaks were from 2020, from way before that was instituted. I think they had been doing that and then went let's make it a department and put a name on it so everyone knows it's happening. And then everyone found out and went, hey, what the fuck are you doing? And they went, never mind.
Never mind.
We were kidding. We're going to keep doing it, but we're not going to name it now.
Don't worry about it. It's nothing that concerns you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just watching what happened with the Church Committee, or what came out in the Church Committee happened with the internet.
Yeah.
And in the providers therein. And so when they came up with free speech, it was assumed that all speech happened person to person. Then we made the jump to telephones and telecommunication companies, and Verizon cannot remove your phone service from you unless you break a US law with it. And even then, I think they probably won't. But now on the internet, it's not even laws you're breaking, but you're losing that right to communication, which is the new telephone. I mean, you have to put in perspective that instead of Twitter saying you're not on Twitter, it's AT&T going, you can't use our services. There's only 6 or 7 of them that people actually use. Yeah, you can go get a Cricket phone, but you can't. It's not. You're being denied services for no laws broken. It's not. They're limiting their market which you're allowed to do if you're a store, but their market is the world. It is American politics as a whole. You don't become senator without a Twitter.
Yeah. We were trying to do it as a band, right? What was the terminology they used? The electronic press kit. Drake, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, electronic press kit. Yeah,
you have to like get it ready for like pre-show, or I don't remember. You might know better than I do.
I let Kane do most of all that. He had some knowledge on that subject, so I was like, go ahead.
Yeah.
But he definitely was like stressing on it way back when we first initially were getting it going.
It's a requirement.
Yeah. No, everybody was fucking asking for it when we were trying to get shit going, when it was just me, him, and Samson.
Yeah.
How did electronic press kits come up? What was the segue?
That's the politicians, right? Like there's like a path.
Yeah, it's just politicians.
Oh, okay. They have like their package that they put out of.
It's a brand.
Yeah.
Which they are moderating actively through a government entity.
And the question, which I mean, Ketchup brought up again, is when, like, because freedom of speech is a right, but freedom to have a Twitter account is not a right. But when does it become Twitter is infringing your speech and we can't let them do that? Because that is your right. Is my question.
That's what I was going to get into, maybe potentially. So I don't know the route that I would go with it, but say there was some public forum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say you established who moderates it, who pays for it, all this stuff. I don't know that part of it. It's not Twitter. Twitter's a private company, right?
Yeah.
Which is where you think that stuff would land, but it's not happening because obviously that's what got exposed in these papers. But where would you have the medium to have the free speech, the unmoderated, the like public access, where it is a right by your taxes revenue, right? Like you're paying taxes to have accessibility to this forum where you could go in and vote and.
Oh, you're saying like make it a public.
Yeah. A public forum. So take all of your courthouses, all of your like community centers where you come together and you kind of had that debate, or like where some politician would come and lecture and stuff. Just put that in some kind of public online forum, right? It's like yelling fire in a movie theater isn't free speech.
Actually, fire in a movie theater is free speech and it is legal. You might get like civilly sued for inciting.
Civilly sued is kind of the key point, yeah.
You would definitely get in trouble.
But you still have the option to do that. You could walk in there and be like, hey, I want to get arrested. Or whatever the repercussions would be, you would suffer. But you don't even get the choice, is the argument that I would think that you would be very frustrated about. Choice. Elimination of choice. It's illegal as fuck.
Or is it really frowned upon?
I think you would distinguish between the civil and the actual... What's the... There's civil, and then there's what?
Hang on, I'm reading.
Clayton's doing his research. He's
There's
finding.
civil, and then there's like legal.
There's civil, and then there's legal.
Well, I guess it's all legal, but it's not.
Really frowned upon.
I don't know where you got the argument that walking a movie
It is
theater...
legal in the United States to falsely shout fire or some other similar falsehood in a so-called crowded theater or other large gathering of people. That is on Wikipedia. Got him.
That's what we do here. We fact check. Not really.
On Wikipedia, it's always right.
Violation? So
But
it's like a misdemeanor or something.
But you can trespass and eject them if it is a private establishment. But you will not get arrested if you do that.
Would you get a ticket?
No. You would get trespassed and you wouldn't be able to go back to that movie theater.
It doesn't seem that bad.
It wouldn't even last. It's not like a permanent thing.
What?
Because you to be kicked out of that establishment for the rest of your life, it'd be...
No, they could make it that way. They're a private establishment, which is the argument that Twitter gets to silence whoever they want. But at a certain point,
See, that
Twitter becomes too important to be able to do that. They become as large as the U.S. government. They become the mode of communication, much like Verizon and AT&T did.
Yep.
And we passed laws that Verizon and AT&T could not keep you from using their services unless you use them to break laws, which I think should be extended to social media companies. That's all I'm saying.
Pull up crying sorority group.
Sounds awful.
Let me search
I am
YouTube.
definitely not saying go do that. I'm just saying, technically speaking,
You said don't.
that analogy is incorrect.
What analogy?
The crying sorority girls, like 2006 video. I remember she has giant cheeks. I don't even remember why she's crying. She's just like, oh.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah. But anyways, mainstream media, social media, the internet at large.
Yep.
There's a lot of ways to manipulate, and I think the further you go back, like there's a long period of time where the Catholic Church basically runs the world and says what goes. Like if you're an astronomer, you'll be beheaded if you think the sun is the center of the earth or whatever. Galileo had trouble with the Catholic Church, is what I'm saying. I don't think he was beheaded, but
I think
she
Galileo
set off the fire alarm and got a ticket and a fine.
I think Galileo was late to the game.
Saw me already inciting. Yeah, no, probably, but there's a long period of time in which religion runs humans on Earth, and it has only recently become kind of, I say recently, in the mindset of like hundreds of years that governments have taken control of religion to control the populace. But kind of history starts through religion in
That
a lot
would
of
be
ways.
evidence that it is the mechanism in which that they control it, right?
Religion?
If that's the only artifact that remains, then that's the one that they made sure remained. That tool.
And they morphed it into what they want.
So that's where I have issue too, is that I understand that there was, and I'm an optimistic person, so I believe that the original message was like altruism and stuff, like to be a good person. I think that message got perverted along the way. No, off track, but I was trying to bring us back.
But why are all religions almost the same when it's like you have one, your God is a mortal man and he dies and he's going to come back, but none of them ever have?
Jesus had a twin brother.
What?
Religion was invented as an intersubjective mean to control the populace. Influence isn't anything new to humans. We have exploited this for our own personal gain since forever. Okay, I have some notes on this actually. Okay, maybe
it's all a metaphor.
No, so I was thinking along the lines that so if religion was this technology that they were passing along, right? It was used as a form of control. How to control people. So my argument was that there were certain technological advances that were slowed down because of the religious aspect. And that's what I was getting at with Galileo. There were people before Galileo that got crucified.
For believing in geocentrism.
Opposing the Catholic Church for saying, hey, we're not the center of the universe. Hey, all of that shit. Like they got crucified to do it. And I'm saying at some point, I'm not saying it's the same civilizations that we're talking about that preceded the 10,000, 12,000 year mark. I'm saying at some point somebody got a hold of that technology and used it ill-willy.
Dude, ill-willy. No, that's not a word. With illful intent. Every time Ketchup types something, it's either something I was about to say or something I vehemently disagree with. But he said it wasn't invented; it was taken advantage of after its creation. I totally believe that.
I agree.
I think they read the original historians and kind of myth makers of their time, and then someone smarter than them saw the power in that.
That's why
someone really early went, "Oh, the victors of the war tell the story."
That's why I'm optimistic about it, because the underlying message of most of those religions is like love and empathy and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say the Old Testament, maybe. But I'm saying there was an original message that I want to believe as an optimist that was the love and empathy part. And then it got perverted into, hey, if you have homosexual sex, you're going to get crucified. Like, how does that get from there to there? Like, if Jesus was alive today, he'd be...
Well, I think a lot of it was actually like, well, this is probably the wrong thing to say right after you said that, but like in the Old Testament where it's like, don't eat pigs, I think. Don't eat pork.
Yeah.
And things like that were literally just like, this is how you don't fucking die these days. Because if you undercook that pork, you're going to die. So just don't eat pork.
So, yeah, they built that into it because they knew that was a lesson learned from, exactly what you were saying. They were the original recorders of history, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I firmly believe that.
But they weren't like, I mean, it's been retranslated so many times, but you have to imagine the original conception of religion and writing things like that down was through metaphors because they're writing with hieroglyphs. So it's not like you can write the sentence, don't eat apples. You have to it would probably be pretty easy if an X still meant no. You just no and then draw an apple, but I don't think it worked like that.
No, dude, I think it was way more.
So all their hieroglyphs are like a female head. This is how the Adam and Eve story tablet that he describes in the book. I don't even know if this is fucking real, but this is how he said in the book. There's a female head on top, then there's a male head, and then there's another female head on the third row on the bottom. And then there's like lines that look like ribs connecting Adam to both and the mom to the one on top to the one on bottom. And I guess if you read that through Egyptian hieroglyphic mindsets, then it looks like God created Adam, rib, another female. So that's the story we're going to go with. But in reality, he equates that with Mayan thinking that there was an original race, and then kind of uses the metaphor for mother, like a mother race on top. And these lines are really just lines connecting, like this was Adam and his culture. He escaped and reproduced. And that's the story of Adam and Eve, actually. That there was an ancient culture that got destroyed. And Adam is the keeper of the generation by reproducing. So it's like a whole different story.
So he was like the last remaining of that culture, and you're saying yeah.
And the guy goes so far as to say that Eve is actually his daughter, and that the Lilith is the mother head. Yeah. And it was a Hebrew law that is retold in the story of Lot. That if you believe that, like, it's basically that relationship is okay if you're the last people. But for some reason, they had to make it a law. Which is interesting, gross, Old Testament shit, you know?
Dude, the Old Testament, I think it would be the most open to, like, being an analog. Like, there's nothing literal in it. It's like metaphors and analogies that they've drawn and misconstrued and misinterpreted. Yeah, that's the ultimate game of telephone. The further you go back, which the Old Testament would be older in time, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I get that.
No, okay, well, I guess that would make the rib fit more, but I think he was trying to remove the rib analogy from the lines totally. Honey, I'm entering chat, sorry. But yeah, but if you use these stories that you're already trying to interpret, then you just interpret them in a way that behooves you and allows you to control the populace that you're in charge of now. Because you're revered, because you're the religious historian.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Right, not everyone's.
That's what I was trying to say.
Spider-Man, dude.
That's what I was trying to say in the last episode. Like, if they're walking into these cultures with all of this information, like, they're God tier. They like hold the answers to everything. They're curing illnesses, and they're building these structures, and like, look at this math, and like, what the fuck is math? I don't know, like, mind blowing shit to people that have never seen this shit. I guess I should cuss less.
No, it's the show. We're way past the algorithms taking us off for cussing in the first 5 minutes. That's a real thing on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's my fault.
Whoops.
No, I don't pay attention to it on either show I do.
I'll try not to do that on the next episode.
But yeah, so it's all crazy. Who controls it? No one knows.
That's crazy.
I think
Give me
aliens.
We're running low on time, and Jeremy, you brought up some weird pictures and some weird ethereal sacred geometry that you have a little bit more of a. There's not a good word.
Your pictures are on topic, and finish us out with those.
Yeah, your interpretation of what is going on, who you think is in control, is interesting and impossible to prove, but we should.
It is impossible to prove. And I was trying
the best part.
It is the best part because it leaves those questions unanswered, right? So along the lines I was trying to say, I was trying to find evidence of why I was trying to believe this stuff. The religion was a mechanism for this stuff to be controlled and buffered the time that this stuff was happening. There's a correlation. I couldn't find a chart, but say the further you're getting away from these religious beliefs, the faster we advance and technologically advance, is whatever, right? So 500 years ago, the world culture was way more religious than it is now. And so I'm saying it was way more buffered and handicapped, right? You couldn't say that the earth wasn't the center of the universe, right? You couldn't even explore on that idea because you'd immediately get censorship.
Yeah.
I'm saying that's evidence of a tool of control. I'm saying that is the mechanism of which they're saying, hey, like, we're going to buffer the speed at which this civilization could do this stuff, right?
Okay.
My idea is that there's somebody behind the scenes that are saying, hey, when to introduce this stuff, when to, like, pull back that dam, let that flow of information. Because the examples that I was coming up with, the evidence, like, I know Ketchup's just waiting. There it is. It's the intention behind it that I don't agree with. I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I was trying to lead to. So at the bare minimum, I was saying that there's artifacts of animalistic nature in humans, right? There's stuff that triggers fight or flight, or stuff that you get heated.
Yeah, like explain Goosebumps.
Right.
That's some.
It's stuff that's inherent. It's stuff that's just you do out of instinct. And I'm saying that stuff is built into the genome. That stuff that's built into your perception of reality, right?
Yeah.
The ebb and flow of those things. Okay. So I'm basing my assumptions that capitalism, that the monetary value we put on things is an artifact of that behavior, of that primal alpha male behavior. Alpha male might be a stretch. I'm saying it's all part of this
survive.
Survival. This need to survive, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm getting back into this picture of what I'm trying to allude to as sacred geometry. Okay?
Okay.
There's an internal drive for you to expand, for you to reach out to other continents and stuff like that. I would argue that there's stuff inside of you that says you need a leader to kind of advocate and push forward and be the champion, stuff like that's probably wired in us to some level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alpha male status. Not saying that's me. I'm just saying.
No, I mean even down to like the nuclear family. There's a
we establish those roles.
Occurrence
like
of
those
violence. The father takes the role.
Those
generally.
are tropes because of they've like proven the successful models, right?
Yeah.
There are arguments that these people like fall through the nooks and crannies and get put into positions of power either by accident or just faulty overlooking, and then it's just exponential, right? Like they identify the other people that are out for monetary gain, and then it's just an infinite feedback loop based on this primal behavior, right? So anytime potentially this person gets put into power, that they're going to undercut, that they're going to be greedful and take advantage and manipulate the system for monetary gain.
And you would argue that they're also the ones that seek power.
It's built into human nature to seek that out. If it's not you personally, you kind of flock to those people and like you have champions of power. It's either your perception of what is good or what is bad. I'm just saying somebody along the lines is steering that mechanism, right? And it's based on an internal, instinctual, animalistic nature.
Okay.
That's why I think if you open up the door to the possibility of ancient civilizations, that we've been at this a lot longer based on that human nature, that ultimately would lead to all the possibilities that you would be controlling the timeline. The way stuff's introduced, population control, mind control, all of that, right?
Okay, you're saying I gave 300,000 years for power to evolve.
Right. I'm not saying it's good.
Someone
I'm not
grabbed
saying
the
it's
reins
evil.
early.
Exactly. I'm saying if you had these exponential time links to run these experiments, and the worst greed of people have this time period to run through and orchestrate, right? Prune and figure out a way to control this, and you give them unlimited amount of time to do that. And I say unlimited. Unlimited is a perspective, right? We were talking about 200 years of digital and industrial revolutions, right? If you give credence to this stuff, that these civilizations are much older than we think they are on the timescales that stuff has happened, why wouldn't they be taking advantage of that system? And why wouldn't it have been successful? And I have trouble with trying to say that it's one sect of people or one person, right? I think the worst case scenarios are happening. I think the best case scenarios are happening. I'm saying there's an underlying message of love and empathy that got transported around, and every once in a while it hit this person that used it for economical or personal gain. That's my argument. And I'm saying that that's written into our biology. That's written into our DNA code. And what I'm about to get into is what I feel like is evidence that is... It's the sacred geometry piece.
It's like inherent to all life.
It's below your conscious level. It's like it's waves and
subconscious,
quantum.
Perhaps.
If subconscious, I would say it's on a realm that you probably don't. Okay, we'll get into it. Okay, here we go. We're doing it right now. We're doing it. Where's it at?
This better be a good ass picture. You gave like a 3-minute intro.
Let's see.
Right.
What was that? I don't know what that was. I can't find Chrome.
It wasn't on Chrome. It's on Discord.
I know, but Chrome is in Discord.
You would go over time the night
I'm not
I had
on
to
the right.
pee real bad.
You can go pee.
I didn't get up in the middle of it.
We didn't take a break.
Y'all look at the pictures. You're just going to explain them. I think you've done that.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the mycelium network. This is the network of mushrooms. This is the network of mycelium that grows beneath the planet. It grows beneath your feet. Let me address Jason real first because I owe him his due. Okay, you shared a whole article with me about the perpetuation of psychopath, exploration of scientific information, and new understandings, super risky feeling for a lot of people. Psychopaths certainly recognize the natural occurrence and try to manipulate it to their advantage. Sociopaths, in an organization of 100 employees, you almost guarantee that someone is either stealing or lying on their mileage. Something guaranteed, for sure. Money makes most... Money is the thing. Yeah. So what's your introduction? Yeah, for sure. 100%. Okay. I think me and Jason are on the same page, so that's cool. Because I'm about to get into some shrooms. I'm about to get into some crazy ass shit. Okay. So this is the mycelium network. This is shrooms. This is the magic mushrooms. This is all fungi. There is a network that is growing beneath your feet, and it expands the globe. It goes underneath the oceans. It goes underneath... It's the neural network of the Earth. Think of it that way, right? All of these lines, all of these networks are intertwined, and say you could just as easily put the globe beneath this and wrap it around. That's the network, okay? They have proved this in science. They can take experiments across the continents that influence this network, okay? It's a transformation of information. It's shared knowledge. It transcends all of that. So to me, this is the best examples of small cell, small nature, small example of the pattern, right? So you see all this wiry network of just path of least resistance, right? So it just spreads out. It tries to go this way. It can't go that way. So it's like the flow of water. You let water flow down a cliff and it trickles down in certain not pre-designated pathways, but it carves out pathways, right? Paths.
It looks like tree branches that don't necessarily need to strive to light.
Tree of life, 100%. That is a good analog, for sure. Right? Okay, so this is what is inside of your brain. This is your neurons inside of your brain. Does it look familiar? My argument is that they follow the same laws of physics. They follow the same path of least resistance. I know they're based on experience and memory and all that stuff, but I mean, that's a different philosophical argument. But your brain organizes itself in the exact same way. That's the argument, okay?
Yep.
Intelligent design, I don't know. I'm just saying if you're conscious of it or not, who knows? But your brain knows how to do it for some reason. DNA, right?
Yeah.
The same DNA that drives this?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Could be.
Is it the same, you think, base root code that's driving this?
It's got to be similar.
What
in
is that
many
a
ways.
picture of?
This is the mycelium network. This spans the entire globe. This is the conscious neural network of the Earth.
Okay.
And this is your brain.
Right.
Okay.
Very identical.
So DNA is driving this. Say there's some, that's what I'm saying is an example of sacred geometry. There's this pattern that it knows to follow. And it's so simple. It's the path of least resistance. I keep saying that. It's whatever it can fit. It's evolution. It's like whatever fits into the environment, whatever it can expand upon, it will expand. If it can't, it goes another route, right?
Same way electricity moves when it's arcing.
That is sacred geometry. To me, that is nature speaking in patterns and all of that. That, to me, is God talking to us, okay? That's conscious design. On another level, we're talking about seeding planets. We're talking about...
I think it's turtles all the way down, not turtle and a turtle.
Okay, so all of that just to make this more dramatic, but this is the grand structure of the universe. If you zoomed it out as far as we could zoom out, I mean, the Milky Way galaxy wouldn't even probably be one of these speck of lights. I think these specks of light in here are like clusters of galaxies, right?
Yeah.
Clusters of galaxy. And then they fall into these little gravitational wells and form these little veins and kind of spread out and do all this stuff. It's the exact pattern to me.
Mm-hmm.
This is the neural network of the universe. And it's all galaxies. It's all people on planets having an individual conscious experience. It's the same neural network as your brain. I don't know. That was my argument.
Now Honey sounds high. She says, so again, a telescope allows us to see into the past. Would that suggest that looking through a microscope is looking into the future? No.
You don't understand the quantum realm, dude. Who knows?
No, because the only reason you're looking to the past with a telescope is because the light hasn't gotten here yet. But with a microscope, you're looking at, like, you're not removing distance from light. You're actually increasing. So it's actually probably more instantaneous to right this second than your eyes are.
I meant to get more into it, do a little bit more research so that I had examples, but one of the examples I was going to speak to in video games, like they don't design specific leaves of plants, right? They don't like create one plant and then move on to another plant, create individual plants. They create an algorithm that has certain parameters, and then they let this little fractal thing run, and you get these weird stuff that we all know about, fractal little images
that looks like our weight screen.
Exactly. But that's the same thing that nature does. They follow that same exact algorithm based on some source code.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that source code is the evidence of grand design. And I know you don't want to get religious about it or philosophical, but to me...
No, I understand the grand design argument you're making. It's like Fibonacci's sequence being so prevalent isn't a coincidence.
What's that?
Fibonacci sequence,
just the fractal similarity stuff?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm saying that stuff is built into it, and that's what governs the law of nature, and that could be by design.
Okay, I'll buy it.
By design. It's a master plan.
I see, that's where I'm struggling. I'm not trying to argue one way or other on the religious aspect of it, because I would be even further down the route that stuff is engineered, right? Like, we're on the verge of creating all of this stuff already, right? Creating a code similar to this.
So as much as it could be proof of God, it could be proof of a matrix.
I'm saying we're on the verge of doing this 200 years into this experiment. If you gave credence that we're 100,000 years old, what does this experiment look like then? We're creating these realities using the same algorithms. And then we're traveling around the universe planting seeds with that code because we've ran the experiments, and then we go to Earth and it's suitable and they...
Mm-hmm. I agree with Honey's latest comment. Everything is simulation. Everything is a fucking simulation.
Everything is a simulation. We should do an episode on simulation theory. Yeah.
And we should change the title of this to Everything is a Simulation.
Yeah.
That was my
what should next week's topic be?
Yeah,
it's a good question. Dinosaurs, are they birds?
Probably.
I think dinosaurs are birds, which we were talking about earlier. There's no complete skeleton of a T-Rex.
That's not even a conspiracy problem.
And all the bones are hollow. And every culture has stories of dragons. You put the pieces together.
I used to be on this Facebook page, and it was called Christians Against Dinosaurs. And it was like this big page of all these Christians that would like try to prove that dinosaurs never ever existed. It was great.
What the?
Because there were so many people that like believed it, and then all these trolls were in it too. So it was nonstop.
Let's poll chat. Honey, astrology is not a conspiracy. I guess I made it one by saying I don't think it affects things.
What is the actual anniversary of JFK? I'm sorry.
November 18th?
18th?
Ooh.
So that's 2 weeks. We would need an episode before then.
I'm going to feel dumb if that's not it. November. This is a 50-year anniversary, isn't it? No, next year is.
22, so we would need 2 episodes before JFK.
22nd, is that what it was?
That's what Honey said.
I think November 18th is a Drake song.
So
probably
there's a lot going on next week. Further on this vein, Graham Hancock's Ancient Civilization stuff comes out on Netflix on 11/11. So that's nice.
Right.
I don't think this needs to be a 3-parter. I'm just saying.
No, yeah, maybe. Is that on Amazon?
It's on Netflix, I think.
Wish we could watch party that somehow. Let's talk about that after the stream. We're supposed to be polling chat on.
Do we do polls?
They don't know either. What are y'all interested in? I need the 2 weeks for the JFK, but what's tickling your fancy on these next weeks?
You got the list, don't you? Astrology,
somewhere.
A conspiracy.
I have it somewhere, but it's not immediately around me.
I don't know how to do poll right now.
I don't have it around me either, but
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll let y'all know.
Like we always do. We didn't take a break this week.
No, we didn't. I mean, I did. I peed and got another beer, but let's do plugs. How about it, Jeremy? You have none.
This is my thing. I do this podcast, so you can find me here. I stream video games sometimes, but that's not reliable. So here,
Tuesday, at BOC Molasses on Twitch. Okay.
Tuesdays at 7 on here too. Go ahead.
You got an Instagram?
I do have an Instagram for this shit. Go ahead, Drake.
Okay, so I stream on Twitch. I'm gonna stream tomorrow the new Call of Duty that just came out. If you like first-person shooters, if not, I totally get it. But if you want to watch me, it's Dark Lord Adar, and soon to be Inked Beats. It's a long story. If you want to ask me about it, DM me. I got Instagram and Twitter. Those are both Inked Beats. Able Delilah is the band I'm in. If you've never listened to us, check us out. Able Delilah. And we have a new song out that's called Flavor. We have 2 shows in Fort Worth this weekend. Check our social media for all the details. And I think that's it.
Got him, coach. I'm BOC Wasabi on Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and TikTok. I don't use that app anymore, though. And every Sunday you can see me live on YouTube at The Rolling Third, all one word. We do a goofy, vulgar podcast that is not like this. Drake was on last week. It was funny as fuck. J Bones' brother is the computer guy when he shows up. Have a good ass time. And then this show is Funny Nut Theorios. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Rumble.
Everything.
Is that it?
Please.
Reddit.
Yeah, Instagram.
If you know of another one, let us know.
You can join the Discord and look at.
I'll get that real quick. Keep going.
We share these links that we pull up or research, even the ones we don't necessarily pull up, but find and share with each other on there. You can share links on there.
Here is the Discord link. Feel free to chime in. You want us to talk about something specific? Got any takes or any arguments against us? I wouldn't say arguments. I welcome the Discord.
Yes, let's argue. Cool.
Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
So like and subscribe.
See you next week.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out. We'll check y'all next week. We'll update y'all on social media what we're going to talk about. So there you go. Peace.